Can AI keep us fit even when we can't go to the gym? Welcome to TechFirst with John Koetsier. COVID has completely changed our fitness routines. Of course, I used to be in the gym 6 times a week. Well, I'm not super fit, but I was at least there. Now, of course, we're all working out at home, not going to the gym. But it's also changed our mental health. To dive in and explain more and to see if an AI coach can be as good or maybe even better than a human coach, we're joined by Daniel Sobhani, CEO of Freeletics. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, John. Thanks for having me on the show.
Excellent. Looking forward to it. Let's start here. We hear about the COVID-19, right? The extra weight that people are putting on during coronavirus. What's the data say? Are we getting fitter or are we getting fatter?
Well, that was really one of the interesting questions that we also wanted to figure out. And what we really have figured out that actually, and that was really surprising, that 70% of the people really said that it was rather easier for them to stick to a fitness routine, start with working out now during quarantine. So the data says, on average, it has become better.
Wow, that's counterintuitive. I mean, like we can't go to the gym. I mean, I really missed my routine that I had. Every lunchtime, I would go to the gym and I do some workouts and stuff like that. And now I don't have that. I've had to invent a new routine. How's it working for other people?
So what we found out, and maybe one step back for those that don't know Freeletics. So what Freeletics does is we're the leading European fitness app. We have now about 50 million users, and we use AI to provide hyper-personalized fitness coaching and mental wellness support. And what we have really figured out that really people in the past, the issue here was that, since 30 years, we have been told that if you want to become fit, you have to go to the gym. If you want to become fit, you have to do a grueling workout for 60 minutes, 6 times per week. I mean, as you did. The reality is you don't necessarily have to do so. And the real benefit of working out at home is really the lower hurdles that you have. You don't have to spend the time commuting there. You can just get up and start. You don't have to, get yourself in any type of shape to go there or anything like that. So super low hurdles. And if you use tech, if you use an AI trainer, it can make the workout so much more efficient for you. They're typically shorter, mostly even more efficient. And that really, in the combination, turned out to bring the data where the data is, that it was easier for most of the people.
Interesting, interesting. I mean, the one thing that I really enjoyed about going to the gym is that when I was there, I was at the gym, right? I wasn't at home. I was in a different environment. Eventually, I sort of recreated a place here for that as well. But I guess the AI coach can help you in some ways to, I don't know, have some external reinforcement of what you already know you need to do.
I think what you said is absolutely right. And really the reality of the industry is there's no one size fits all. So there will always be that person who thrives better in a gym environment, who doesn't want the comfort of I can just start at home, but really needs to have that barrier. So now I'm at the gym, so I'm really going to do it. And, I'm meeting up with my friends or something like that, and we're going through this together. So there's really not this one size fits all. And I think that also for the future, despite this incredible surge in interest and acceptance now for digital fitness solutions, the stationary gym will always be a part of that experience.
Yeah.
It will just be enhanced by technology.
So I want to get into the AI and how it works and what technologies you're using and how they help. But let's talk a little bit even before. What's one of the things that you surveyed was in terms of mental health, but also in terms of the intimidation factor of going into a gym if you're not super fit. How's that changed? Or is that a good thing that people who wouldn't go to a gym before, now they're working out at home because they couldn't go to the gym, they didn't feel fit, they didn't want to go there until they were fit?
Well, what you described is actually really one of the things that was somehow screwed about like this gym culture before, because I mean, what's the point in having to, like, at least like your perception, having to be fit before you
Yes.
go to a place where you are supposed to become fit?
Yes.
So that was one of the real challenges, one of the real challenges before. So that's definitely an advantage of being able to do this at home. You can turn on the camera, turn off the camera, you can do and all of these things. But what we've also seen next to that advantage, the accessibility advantage, is really a trend towards taking better care of your mental well-being. And almost 80% of the people, so a higher percentage than the actual, fitness part, where 70% of people said it's easier for them to do fitness. Really, 80% of the people said that now they are more interested in mental well-being, and they are more interested in how you can, well, for lack of a better word, manage your mental well-being.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a very beneficial trend for the people per se.
It is super interesting, right? I won't go to the gym until I'm fit. It's like I won't go to the doctor until I'm healthy. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's talk about the AI pieces. You've got an AI coach for fitness. How's that work?
Well, I mean, let me start with what's it supposed to do. And really, in the simplest way, it's supposed to give the users a workout that is absolutely tailored to them. So to physically how they reach the goal, but also psychologically what they would enjoy, or to their equipment. And so really, the AI coach does three things. First of all, it enriches data, because really the basis for all good workout programming is we know you. The issue is most of the people don't really want to go through an extreme, intense questionnaire. And even if they would, some of the questions they can't answer. Like if we ask them, what's your 1 rep max on some exercise, they're like, what's 1 rep max? So what the AI does is really, like, from the base data that we get from you, we combine this with the knowledge and the experience that we have from our almost 50 million other users. And so we can enrich your profile, and we can, with a very high accuracy, predict what type of exercises you will be able to do or not, with what weight, and what repetition range, and all of these things. So that's number one. We know you better than probably you know yourself in that situation, at least for most of the people. The second thing is then this data gets taken, and the AI starts to prescribe you workouts. And what it does there, it gets boundaries from a training perspective. So there are certain programming principles that are in there. And within these boundaries, it tries to give you a workout that accomplishes, one, it has a certain efficiency if you do it, like from a physical standpoint. Two, you enjoy it. There are people who like to really sweat and train very, very hard. There are people who don't. Where are you on that scale, for example? And three, to maximize your retention. So, what are the things that make you come back? And then really the third thing is, and this is where it really becomes interesting, is it learns. And it learns based on two main things. One is you can give it direct feedback. So feedback from, I would have wished the workout to be shorter, to it was great, to this is the equipment that I have, or today I feel in such a sense. But it also learns from your performance and your behavior. So depending how you perform in the certain exercises, depending what you do and what you don't do, it enriches this data set that I mentioned before. And because of the data set, again, the workout gets better. And so really our goal is to get people out of every workout session with a positive feeling. And so we ask people afterwards. And to give you an example here, the AI can pull out of about 3.5 million options. And by now we have
3.5 million options of what?
Of training days. So you get in every day, the AI gives you a new, so every day it's adopted, your training plan. It's not monthly, it's not weekly, you get the daily training.
Wow.
Every day, there are 3.5 million options, meaningful options. I mean, we could do random stuff, but 3.5 million meaningful options the AI can pull from. And by now, we are at about 85% perfection rate. That means the users rate the workout as perfect afterwards.
Wow. Very interesting. So, help me out here. Is this best for people who are new to fitness or people who are already deep in fitness? And there's a couple things around there because in the gym I had a couple different routines that I would go. I didn't have 3.5 million, but I had literally dozens of pieces of equipment that I could use and everything like that. When I came and COVID happened, February, whenever it was, started building out my home gym. I had a few pieces here and there. I bought a few pieces. I went in, did a lot of body weight exercises. I started doing quite a bit more cardio stuff because I didn't need a lot of equipment there. But eventually I got some pieces of equipment. How do you tell the system what you have, and how does it tell you what you can do with those pieces?
Yeah. So the last part of your question is basically pretty simple. You can tell us what equipment you have, and on every day you can even adjust that. So if you told us that like generally you have access to a gym, but now it's COVID, so you take out the gym option. So that's more often of an easy part. Also, you can tell the AI coach generally what type of movement forms you want to have included in your training plan. Do you want to have body weight exercises? Do you want to have weight-based exercises? Do you want to have, for example, running-based exercises, and so on? So that's in that sense, we can cover that more in a kind of simple way. The more challenging question is who's the exact target group. What you mentioned in the beginning, and I would describe the target group as one. You should probably be somewhere between really a beginner. You can do this as an absolute beginner.
Yes.
The AI will adapt to you. So from a beginner to an experienced. If you are really a pro,
Yeah.
then reality is that you have so specific wants and wishes. You are already so knowledgeable that the AI, at least right now where we are with the technology, cannot yet hold up to this level of your own body, what you like, how you want to do it, you can feel into yourself. So the answer really is from an absolute beginner to an advanced. If you want to achieve a certain goal, this is really a very good option for you. And the only thing we ask from you is to have a certain willingness to invest work. So
Yes.
very explicitly, we don't advertise, and it's also not true, all of these things where 5 minutes per day and you will see incredible results within 3 weeks, no sweat, nothing. That's a nice word for this is it's not true if you
Yes.
hear anything like that.
Okay, cool. So we had a question here from YouTube, and it's the question I was going to go to next anyway, so that's why I'm showing it on the screen here. Talk about the AI technology. What do you built? What have you built? How does it work? What technologies are you using? Give us some insight.
Yeah. So the machine learning algorithm is based on a human augmented AI approach. So that means that you have human set parameters, especially around the training physiology, the programming. Within these parameters, the AI works. And the AI itself is, because we want to coach, so we want to give a recommendation and not backwards looking, look at how data matches in the
Yes.
history. So what we do is we combine causal inference modeling with data mining techniques to generate this personalized training experience based on user source data, so the data that we get from the user, and capability estimation algorithms. That's really the absolute gist of what we're doing.
You may be interested to learn that Helm.ai, a self-driving car startup in Silicon Valley, uses something quite similar. I interviewed them like a week and a half ago or so, and they use what they call priors, which is things that are known about the world, things like object permanence that you'd learn as a child, right? And they insert those in. And so you're talking about some human knowledge that's going into the system and guiding it, and then the AI working there. What was the most surprising suggestion maybe that you've personally gotten from your AI coach?
Well, I don't really think I got anything really surprising, but what I really hated was that very correctly the AI figured out that my leg work and my leg muscles are, like, let's say, a little bit underdeveloped versus the other ones. This is what sometimes happens.
It was
And
all upper body, huh? You were a glamour model in the gym. Wow.
and it made me really work hard to counter this imbalance. So I think that was really one thing that I noticed.
Excellent, excellent. And talk about the comparison to a human coach. How would you compare the AI coach with somebody who's actually there physically?
Yeah, I think this is really a fantastic question, also because it leads into discussions around the future. So the the great thing about using machine learning techniques to personalize a workout is that within given parameters, you can provide very accurate workout prescription. And on top of that, and you can do this at the cost of a cup of coffee per week, so at a very low price point. And you can have this changed and adapted every day, every given minute. You as a user decide that today, for some reasons, I want to brief my coach somewhat differently. More time, less intensity, different equipment, different type of modality. So really this anywhere, anytime approach, a good personalization within given parameters.
Mm-hmm.
The challenges of this model really come towards when the starting point of that prescription gets murky. So if you have today, a certain injury or something aches, and you
Yeah.
really don't like this type of exercise, and for some reasons today you just don't feel like doing X, all of these things, they are very difficult to impossible to predict for an AI coach. And so then really the question goes, how many input parameters do you want to take from an AI coach? How big should that questionnaire be before you can start working out? Or do you at some point of time really venture out into, okay, for these edge cases, I let the user select his own workout for himself.
Yes.
So that's really one thing. And the other thing is that the one big benefit of a human coach is, the human connection. You feel accountable towards that person. That person can more help you really to keep your routine than an AI-based coach. Even if the AI-based coach gives you personalized messages, it explains the workouts for you and all of these things that human connection misses. And so, really one of the things that we at Freeletics are thinking about is like, what's the winning proposition, the winning model for the future where you can combine the best of these two
Yeah.
worlds, and something like provide 80% of the time AI-based machine learning personalized coaching, but for the 20% of the time where you really have a challenge or you are going through a struggle to motivate yourself, or it's really a more complex question, get a real person in who can help you out in these edge cases. And so the idea really would be that at still a very competitive price point, you can have this 360-degree service that really helps you not only to have effective workouts, but stick to your routine.
It almost sounds like you're announcing a product here.
Well, it's something that we think about. Like, I think just generally speaking now, with everything that happened around COVID, and I mean, overall, COVID is a tragedy. Like for
Yeah.
people, the health and the economy and so many other things. But one of the systematic things that it did was it really brought a lot of people and a lot of attention into the fitness industry, into the digital fitness industry, and so I'm certain that the rate of innovation and quality of service will go up very steep, at least for the leading companies in that area. And so also we are thinking, what are the real big next steps for Freeletics to give users the best experience around this?
Very interesting. I mean, I can assume that it will get better over time as well, and I can assume that some of the things that are maybe challenging, like entering what you want to do or what equipment you have, might get easier, as well as maybe more you get more access to voice assistants and stuff like that on the various platforms. And over time, we just talk to our AI assistant at some point. But let's talk about you mentioned that you don't make ads like 5 minutes a day and you'll be super fit, no stress, 3 weeks and you'll be at your desired weight. But do you have some data on how people perform over the long term with Freeletics?
We do. So what I can share is that our average retention rate is better than what you would see if you would go to the gym. That's
Okay.
that's a given fact.
Cool. Interesting. I don't know what those numbers are. What are the average numbers for people who go to the gym? I do 30% stick with it, 50%?
So we really look at who's still active a year afterwards. And like, if you really want to be in a great position, that should be a minimum of 30%, if not higher.
Okay.
Well, for most of the people in a gym, it's much lower. Like, unfortunately, the gym model very much works on this. You go there, subscribe, but
and you don't actually go. Yes, that's how it works.
If all of your subscribers would use the product, the gym would be packed. No one could go to the gym anymore. So in that model, you already incorporate that a certain percent of, like a high percent of people don't show up. And really the difference with digital solutions is that, like, the major part of your company is just focused on getting you and keeping you active, which is very different to the stationary industry.
Well, if you've got year-long retention rates that are around or above 30%, it's a very unusual mobile app, because, of course, D7 retention rates, day 7 retention rates for most mobile apps are in the 10% range or something like that. So it's pretty low. Let's get back to some of the COVID and fitness stuff with the survey that you ran. What have you found are some of the biggest differences when people are working out at home versus in the gym?
I think really the by far biggest difference is the adoption of digital technologies within this. So we found out that I think it was almost 65% of people who were working out at home were using some digital tool in order to support them. And really a big 40% of these did this for the first time ever. And that was really the main headline that we found out. And I personally believe, and also based on the data that we internally currently see in terms of usage, despite some of the reopenings of the gyms in some parts of the world, that this trend towards at least using digital technologies to like round up your overall experience in the gym, that will definitely stick. So that's definitely one thing. The other thing, we really found out that this combination of fitness and mental well-being is something that is on a trend, if you want to call it like that. And I personally couldn't be more happy about this, because really, if you want to feel good, if you want to see results in the long term, these are really the two things that you should look about and invest in.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I mean, one of the things you found is that meditation was up, right? And mental health. I mean, we all need a little bit more during COVID, right? But there were some interesting men versus women statistics there as well.
Yeah. So what we found out, I mean, I think roundabouts. And that's really contrary to what I would have predicted, because typically what you see is that women have a higher engagement and interest in fitness and mental well-being and meditation, just flat throughout all of these statistics. But for now, what we figured out, it was exactly the opposite. So you had about 20% higher engagement, interest rates, people starting with this on male than with female. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's a little bit of, okay, because less male in the beginning did already something around this, but yes. That was really very very new to us, and this is also a part yet where we still have to make sense of the data. Why is that? So what changed in that in that fact?
Interesting. And what was the, I mean, I bought a few things to work out at home. It was tough, by the way. Everything was out of
Yeah.
stock. But you saw some new investment in actual tools and equipment and stuff like that. What was the average level of investment?
So what we surveyed was that the average spend was, I think, somewhere $120 for the male and around 70 or 80 for female. So there is a difference between male and female, but this also comes a lot because male are more like excitable by technology, and you know, they want to have weights and all that stuff, which cost money. I think one interesting fact you should mention, or one should mention about these average figures, is that while the average is, I mean, pretty low, but if you segment or you like de-aggregate this data, what you see is that a lot of people spend much less than the 120,
Yeah.
and then you have some of these really very expensive purchases that you have, you know, the Pelotons, or like your dumbbell set that costs $1,000 or something like that. So
Yeah.
the willingness to invest into your health and fitness went up dramatically, and I think also that will be a factor that will increase innovation in that industry, because especially for app-based models, in the past you always had the challenge of, you know, we come out of an industry where in the beginning apps were for free, you just downloaded them, and then you paid $1 for them, and then you paid $5 for them. Now we are at a level where it is okay if you charge $9 or $15 per month or something like that. But if you really want to provide great service, fantastic content, always new, personalized, real person coaching, you can't offer that at $15. So this higher willingness to pay will come back to users with greater service and greater innovation.
Excellent.
I'm certain
Excellent.
about that.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate this. I love the conversation.
Excellent. Had a lot of fun as well. For everybody else, thank you for joining us on TechFirst. My name is John Koetsier. I appreciate you being along for the ride. Whatever platform you're on, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all the above. If you're on the podcast later on, you like it, please rate it, review it. That'd be a massive help. Thank you. Until next time, this is John Koetsier with TechFirst.